Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Run It Back, the show where we try to get things right the second time. In today's episode, we're going to be going over a draft submitted by Diabolic Machine from the AGL server. And as you can see, it's a best of one draft, a premier draft up here of Murders at Karlov Manor. A score of 3-3, which definitely got most of the money back. This is kind of where the bare minimum of where we want to sit with a lot of our premier drafts. But let's dive into it now and see what we can find. As we open up Pack 1, Pick 1, I'm seeing a couple of average cards, a lot of average cards. Of course, we've got a meme over here in Niv Mizzet Guild Pact. At the beginning of the format, I would have started on this and thought it was a lot of fun, and it is a lot of fun, but the fact that it needs to end up doing damage and does not have trample just really puts it off. I just don't think that it can easily be jumped by things like Thopters. Looking at our non-rares, I see we have an Evidence Examiner, which can be very powerful, but is 2 colors. Understand that. We do see a Forensic Researcher, which can work well in either the Go Big blue decks, also works well in the Collect Evidence decks, also goes well in things where we need to ramp into, like Big Green, that kind of stuff. Rubabout Maverick, also another good one if we want to take a look at the Roots deck. I also like a Gadget Technician, and even an Innocent Bystander is probably fine. Nothing here really screams that this is what we want to be taking. I probably would end up either taking the Niv Mizzet if we wanted to go down that route for fun, or the Evidence Examiner because it's the most powerful card, but certainly can't fault anybody going wrong with a Forensic Researcher here. Moving on to Pack 1, Pick 2, we see probably the most powerful card in the pack being this Greenbelt Radical. Having this just come down on turn 4 as a 4/4 is big game. Like, it's huge. It's probably one of the biggest 4-drops in the format, alongside a couple of rares. So that's good. Also see Whispering Vampire, but seeing as we have a blue card down here going into black-white, probably not the best choice. So we see Diabolic Machine go with a Nervous Gardener. I think that's great. Kind of suggests we want to go in blue-green big. Unfortunately, Evidence Examiner is something we've missed, but, that's okay. Maybe it'll come on with the wheel. Pack 1, Pick 3, we see a Reenacted Crime, which is, not great, but if there is a deck to do it, it's going to be a Forensic Researcher deck, I suppose. Burden of Proof is not it either. And then we've got a couple of black spells, like the Polygraph Orb and the Slice from the Shadows, but it looks like our drafter here goes with a Vitu-Ghazi Inspector. It's the only green card in the pack, which I think is also good for us. If we're able to cut people off a green, we might be able to go into it. It also plays well with, the Roots deck, the Collect Evidence deck, those sorts of things. If we want to be collecting evidence, this is another really good way to do that. Pack 1, Pick 4. Really nothing in mono green here. Really nothing in blue either. We're looking here at either the Crawl Whipcracker in green-black on a splash. The Leering Onlooker plays really well out of the graveyard. The Soul Innervation is a removal spell that cares about when things leave our graveyard. And even things like the Macabre Reconstruction and the Rake Scoundrel all sort of suggest that, black is open, at least in the early goings of this draft pod. I also see an Escape Tunnel and a Public Thoroughfare, and I don't mind taking either of those in this assumption that one of these 3 cards will wheel. But that's okay. I'm in on grabbing the Leering Onlooker and potentially moving into green-black. Pack 1, Pick 5, we see an excellent Extracted Confession. This is a card that we definitely could be taking Pack 1, Pick 1. We also see another Vitu-Ghazi Inspector, which could be good, but I don't think you want to overload on those because Collect Evidence 6 is kind of a lot just for a 1/1/1 counter and 2 life. The other thing I would really consider here is this Gravestone Strider. If we're going to go into the Soul Innervation Insidious Roots Chalk Outline deck, Gravestone Strider is probably the single best card that you want because while it's in your graveyard, you exile it on its cost in order to target something else, and if you target one of your own cards, then you get 2 Roots triggers or 2 whatever triggers, and I think that can be really, really powerful. But Extracted Confession looks particularly good here. I don't mind this at all. Pack 1, Pick 6, we're seeing a Long Goodbye late. This is a really good sign that black should be where we want to be at. I would have been happy with a Bite Down on Crime here, and the fact that we get to see them both is big. Even something like a Clandestine Meddler, although not particularly, we're not an aggressive deck so far if we're going green-black, just being able to suspect something and then sort of get in for a little bit here and there is really, really good. Pack 1, Pick 7, we see a couple of things. This Night Drinker Moroi is not necessarily something you want in the Roots deck. However, it is just a powerful card. You morph it on 3, you disguise, and then are still able to do something else on 4. And then also Slice from the Shadows is something I don't mind having 1 or 2 of, but I don't want to overload on this just because it costs a lot of mana to take care of a 3-drop or a 4-drop. Pack 1, Pick 8. We take a case of the Shattered Pact. Maybe we're hoping that we can wheel the Niv Mizzet. I might just take 40 gems or 20 gems here. I don't think either of these cards are really making our deck. Pack 1, pick 9, the Niv did not wheel, which is sad. And we look at Repeat Offender or They Went This Way. Now, this is a really interesting one here. I'm also even considering a Presumed Dead, because if we ever get our Roots or our Chalk Outline, this saves our creature while also giving us that ability to trigger those enchantments. Repeat Offender is probably my least favorite of the three, but as we're going into big mana decks, like, this is a fine 2-drop. It trades with Morphs, and then later on it can really turn into a 4, 5, 6 power creature. I might pick up my first They Went This Way, though, just to see where we're going with the big decks. Pack 1, pick 10, we do pick up a Presumed Dead, which is great. Really happy to see one of those. I'm probably not playing more than one. Pack 1, pick 11, we see a Rot Farm Mortipede. If I have to play this card, I'm not terribly upset about it, but I'm also not happy about it either. This is very much a curve filler that works really well against an aggro metagame, and I don't know if we're necessarily in that heavy aggro metagame anymore. You know, like at weeks 2 and 3, like, this would have been actually a pretty good card that you could repeatedly trigger and then go in for 4 lifelink that can kind of swing a game. But now I don't know if I like how aggressive that is. Pack 1, pick 12, we do get a Macabre Reconstruction, which I think is exactly when we want to pick this up. And Pack 1, pick 13, we get an Alley Assailant. Don't know if we're going to play this, probably not, but you never know. Pack 2, pick 1. As we open up this pack, we see a Relive the Past, which is kind of a dud at rare. We do see another Long Goodbye, but I do love the fact that we're picking up this Topiary Panther. As of right now, we have things like Extracted Convention, Vitu-Ghazi Inspector, and I believe there's one more in here. Just the Forensic Researcher. We definitely want to be collecting evidence pretty often, and this one really allows us to do those early evidence collections big. Pack 2, pick 1. We're pretty much looking at these 3 cards over here and Get a Leg Up, Soul Innervation, or Bite Down on Crime. We're looking at seeing what we can do for the cheapest but most effective. Get a Leg Up, it can be really helpful, particularly against flyers, which you don't have a lot about, but I suppose so can the Bite Down on Crime, can really help with something like that as well. Now, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot for us to collect evidence on the 6 outside of the Topiary Panther, so we're going to have to trade off a little bit or just cast this for 4 mana, which kind of sucks. But Soul Innervation might also have been a good one. This is the second one we've seen. I don't think it wheels, but it definitely could have been something to pick up here. I don't think there's really a wrong way to eat this Reese, so both of those are great. Pack 2, pick 3. A Case of the Crimson Pulse. I don't understand this pick. We've got a perfectly good Extracted Confession here. We've got a perfectly good They Went This Way. Shoot, we've even got a Cold Case Cracker if you want to end up still splashing your blue. But it looks like we go with the Case of the Crimson Pulse just because it's a rare, because we can discard a card, and eventually, like, once you get rid of your entire hand, you just get to keep drawing cards. But I don't know how good that is, right? Like, I think we just want to continue to control the board, ramp out our big spells, and see what we can go from there. I probably would have taken this Extracted Confession here. Pack 2, pick 4. We got our Insidious Roots. It's exactly what we want out of the deck. Slam it. Pack 2, pick 5. We see a Sumatra Sentry was taken, and this is really surprising. Oh my gosh, I would never have taken this green-white card in our not green-white deck, but taking a look at the rest of the pack, like, there's really nothing here. Pack 2, pick 6. Nothing here for us. Things are really drying up this way. I'd probably take a Rakus Scoundrel over the Cerebral Confiscation, because I'm almost never playing this as Mind Rot, and I'm only really ever playing, you know, the Thoughtseize effect if I know that they have something in like a best of 3. So in best of 1 draft, I just don't think I'm ever playing this card. It just doesn't, it's not good. The one thing about this card is don't get caught up on the disguise. Just play as a 4 mana 3/3 Death Touch that gives something indestructible when it comes in. Right? This is just an enter the battlefield trigger. Don't worry about the disguise at all. If it happens to maybe end up getting like cloaked or something, then I'm in on it. But for 6 mana to flip it up, it's just not good. Pack 2, pick 7. We do see a Get a Leg Up here, and I love this card. I would have considered picking it pick 1 or pick 2 of this pack, but seeing it at pick 7 is great for us. Pack 2, pick 8. We see a second Alley Assailant. Probably not playing that one. Pack 2, pick 9. We got a Hustle Bustle over some other cards. Pack 2, pick 10. Nothing here. Maybe take the Slime Against Humanity for the memes. Pack 2, pick 11. We got a Runebrand Juggler, which is fine because we have a maybe red card. And then we see a couple of white and red cards to round out the pack. Pack 3, pick 1. A lot of white cards in this pack. Holy cow, look at all these white cards. Even more white cards over here. But we do have a super good Green Belt Radical. And again, just like the other green black disguise card. Don't get caught up in needing to disguise this, right? 7 mana is a lot, and if you're in the late game and you draw this on like turn 7 or 8 or whatever, and you got 6 lands, 7 lands, yeah, you can disguise it, but just slam it on turn 4 as a 4/4. That's big. That's huge. That's great. It works really well with your bite down on crimes, and just in general beats in and plays well with tricks. Pack 3, pick 2, we see a surveillance monitor. We see a Cryptex. Ooh, a Cryptex. Is that something good? No, probably not. I might will this Cryptex, and if it comes back in like pick 10, we might pick it up. But surveillance monitor is good. Unfortunately, looking all the way back at pack 1, pick 1, when we got there was an evidence examiner instead of this forensic researcher. And like, you know, with all of the hindsight in the world, it probably would have preferred to have that evidence examiner now. But surveillance monitor, great card, able to pick it up and splash this one. Pack 3, pick 3, we got a Nervous Gardener. I think this is when we're probably settling in on splashing at least a couple of blue cards, maybe even this red card if you really, really wanted to. Then this Nervous Gardener is great. Hard-hitting questions also good and plays really well with things like the Radical as well as the Topiary Panther and the Rakish Scoundrel, the Death Toucher that we passed on. This also plays really well with the hard-hitting questions. Pack 3, pick 4, we got a Tunnel Tipster. I know we've talked a little bit about some fixing, but how about some ramp? And I think that's exactly what we want. This is great. Also, if we happen to end up doing some disguising, then it gets bigger. But more than anything else, this is just 2 mana Arbor Elf. Pack 3, pick 5, we see Topiary Panther. That's very good. We definitely want probably 2 or even 3 of those in our Insidious Roots deck. Pack 3, pick 6, we see a Slimy Dual Leech. I was really low on this, and then I got really high on it, and now I'm kind of back to low on it again. The card is good. Like, don't get me wrong, it's good, but it's just not anything that, like, wins you the game on its own, I don't think. I might even take this 3rd Topiary Panther, because we want lots of big things in the graveyard. We also want big 6/5s. I just don't know if 2/4 is doing it for us. But this is fine. Pack 3, pick 7, we have a Rubblebelt Maverick still in the pack. Holy, but Jesus, this is awesome. Look at this card. This is the exact card that we want. I'd play 10 of these things if we could. Get that thing in here. Pack 3, pick 8. We see They Went This Way. I think that over Public Thoroughfare is fine. I might actually take this Thoroughfare. Pack 3, pick 9. We got 20 gems, which is great. Pack 3, pick 10. We got a Cryptex. Ooh, Cryptex. Cryptex with an Insidious Roots. Cryptex with a Rot Farm Mortipede. I'd take the Cryptex. I don't know if I'm playing it or not, but I mean, the meme's kind of there, right? We're putting stuff in the bin and, you know, collecting evidence is good for us. Pack 3, pick 11, we got a Magnifying Glass. Pack 3, pick 12, we got a Pick Your Poison. And then Pack 3, pick 13, we got a Red Herring. Taking a look at the deck, we can see we have 0 5-drops in between our 4s and 6 slots, and very few 3s, but as we can take a look here, we also have 2 Nervous Gardeners, which end up on 3. We have a Greenbelt Radical, which could be on 3, as well as the Moroi, and I feel like there's got to be at least one more, right? Maybe we didn't end up making it in the deck. We do see a Forensic Researcher, which is great for both the collecting evidence on the city streets as well as also the ramp is getting things a little bit higher up. I think the Mortipede, unfortunately, is a card we don't really love, but also there's not a whole lot that we're missing out on. I might end up playing this Presumed Dead. Yeah, I think there's probably not a whole lot else here, which makes sense. So maybe this Presumed Dead, maybe over the Hustle Bustle. I don't know how I feel about Hustle Bustle. Card is fine, but it's certainly not good. I also don't really love having a singular island with 2 ways to fetch it up, I suppose. Might want to also bring in like this They Went This Way for not only the blue fixing as well as, you know, a way to ramp into your 6-drops. But overall, deck looks fine. There's just some like chaff in here that I'm not like thrilled about. That doesn't really help us with our strategy, nor does it like particularly strong. Like these 4 cards in, oh, even these 5 cards: Hustle Bustle, Alley Assailant, Slimy Dual Leech, Rot Farm Mortipede, and Repeat Offender. Like these 5 cards, I kind of wish could be upgraded to something else. Now, unfortunately, there wasn't too much left in the draft to like upgrade them to. But like these are the kinds of cards that I'm just not super thrilled about playing. Whereas like everything else is great. Like, you know, Rubblebelt Maverick and Insidious Roots, and then like all of the things that sort of enable that stuff, which is great. Some fixing in here, which is necessary. 2 more good cards to splash with. And then, like, obviously some top end in, like, the Macabre Reconstruction, getting back 2 Panthers or something that is great. These cards just sort of don't do it for me. Overall, lots of fun. Good draft. Thanks so much for sending it in. Always love to see an Insidious Roots. Also, unfortunately, had to pass that Niv Mizzet in Pack 1, Pick 1. If you'd like to see your deck on Run It Back, feel free to send me an email at runitbackmtg@gmail.com or a message in Discord. either to my DMs or in the AGL public channels. I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.